Some say the hero's blade could cut the dark of night. Through generations of legends, Titans were renowned for their great strength. It was said they could annihilate entire armies. Those seem to only be legends, however, for no more Titans roamed the world. That is, until one fateful day, where evil crept through the cracks of the earth. Destrophere was separated from his platoon when he decided to scout ahead on the patrol path in Kratos Forest. When he had returned to where they were staying, they were gone. They weren't ones to deviate from standard procedure, he thought, and so he searched around. Suddenly, a voice seemed to have called to him in his head. "The ancient herb surrounds the remaining sign of us. You are close. Find it." Destrophere, of course, did not understand what this meant, though he recalled a book that he had read in the Library of Myths. It was about an alternate world that was once connected to this world by flora. It was difficult to find evidence of this apart from dreams and visions. Destrophere had the urge to investigate, overpowering his need to find his fellow troops. An hour had passed, and he had not found any form of these herbs. The voices had only spoken to him once, and his mind became silent thereafter. He gave up on his search to return to Castellot, the kingdom he served. King Carthos may be pleased to hear about this, he thought to himself. Perhaps we can find more information if more people search. On his path towards an outlying village within the kingdom, he had spotted about 20 Emeraldine troopers marching on a separate path. There must have been an attack at an allied town, Destrophere worried. Ruberion, perhaps. Hoping such worries would be laid to rest, he got closer to the soldiers. However, his worries grew when he looked at their faces, or, in this case, their lack of. Their eyes were blanketed by a dark fog, and the only signs of humanity they had shown were their bold jaws, such that they seemed angered. His readings have helped him once more, for he knew not to approach any more. These soldiers were corrupted. He needed to reach High Castellot to get to King Carthos. Once the troops had passed, he dashed through the woods as swiftly and as silently as possible. He had finally reached the edge of the forest when he had reached the rural town of Hythos. Hythos was a very new town, full of dainty wood and straw huts, all susceptible to catastrophe. He had spotted fellow Castellot soldiers, but they looked the same as the Emeraldine troops that had passed not too long ago. He took care to pass through the village border, as to not be seen by the forces, for he could be captured if found. "You, trooper, where do you think you're going?" a rough voice announced from behind him. Destrophere turned to see a figure completely covered in steel, apart from his jaw. He couldn't tell if they were corrupted as well. Perhaps they couldn't tell if Destrophere was corrupted. "Your mask, remove it," Destrophere demanded. "I will too." They both removed their helms to see each other's faces. Their eyes met, and they knew they could trust each other. "Do you have any idea what's happening, sir?" the knight tried to whisper. "I cannot tell. I am traveling to Castellot to ensure the king's safety. You can come with me if you wish." "I will stay here to ensure no one is mercilessly beaten. The soldiers haven't deviated from standard procedure, but that may easily change." "I wish you luck," Destrophere responded. "You will need it." They both returned their helms to their heads and parted ways. Destrophere had continued on his path toward High Castellot, hoping to assist as soon as he could. On the horizon, a dark smoke spewed up like a fountain. Castellot was under siege. "I must hurry, or else I may be too late to help anyone," he thought. He ran as fast as he could, armor clanking with each step. The sky continued to darken, but it did not seem like it was the smoke tainting it. It turned to a dark and smoky purple. When he had reached the gate, 3 lightly armored guards were standing there. "I demand entry to Castellot. I have a message for the king." "Unless you wish to suffer the same fate he is, I say you stay out," one of them roughly replied. "Yeah, king's out of power," another chimed in. "Last chance, men. This is urgent," Destrophere demanded. "Oh yeah? What else? You'll smite us like a titan?" Destrophere didn't hesitate and immediately slashed at one of the guards, blood spewing from their neck. The second shocked staggered back to the wall. Destrophere swung his blade over his head and split the guard's head. The third one drew his blade and ran at him. Destrophere parried one strike and returned his own, passing his opponent's sword and stabbing him in the chest. With the guards out of the way, Destrophere snuck into the city, with sudden sounds of sticks and rocks in the alley seeming louder than cannons. The giant gates on the outside were unguarded. The king may already be dead. I have to know, Destrophere worried. He swung open the gates to the throne room and saw a large, ghastly figure. It was as if it resisted light. The figure turned to Destrophere. "A straggler!" The figure cackled. "How heroic! Where is King Carthos?" "Dead. Now I take his place. Would you like to see him once again?" The ghoulish being raised his staff at Destrophere and shot a skull bolt at him. As it impacted, he was knocked out cold. He awoke inside what seemed to be a large stone arena in the ground. He picked himself up and looked around, and suddenly he heard a voice from behind him. "Lycarthos!" a large golden-armored figure yelled, seeming to greet Destrophere. "I thought Cathrillion, or nigh stunned." "I don't speak whatever you're speaking," Destrophere confusingly replied. "I see. You are lucky to be alive, hero." "Hero? What are you?" "You're blasted by a bolt from the dark mage Kozak. He is evil incarnate, and nothing is immune to the magic of evil." The figure pointed to Destrophere. "Except for a Titan." "What exactly are you getting at?" Destrophere demanded. "You are the last of the Titans. However, you have not unlocked your power. I will assist you in gaining it, but you must be willing to do whatever it takes. Awfully strange to grab some random soldier and claim he's an all-powerful being. You underestimate your power. You cut down knights like it's nothing. That comes from training. Anyone can gain that skill if they work enough. Who are you to judge me like this?" "I am known as the Guardian. I guided Titans to power back in our ancient age. I am here to guide you," the armored being claimed. "We must make haste for your training. We start with a sparring match." "I hardly doubt I'm in the right condition to—" Destrophere was cut off as the Guardian dashed toward him like the sun's rays. The Guardian mercilessly swung at him with his sword. Each strike was parried with great precision, but it was quickly becoming too much. Destrophere quickly dodged one of the strikes and got behind his opponent. Just as quickly as the Guardian swung his blade, he threw a flurry of arcane spikes at Destrophere. Some dissipated from frantically swinging his sword at them, but most hit his armor. They did not pierce, however. He knew arcane spikes always pierced their target, but he didn't know why he hadn't died then and there. "Enough!" the Guardian yelled. "You clearly have great skill. It's a start for what you must do. Let's go again." The two dueled with the Guardian, throwing many magical tricks up his sleeve at Destrophere until the sun fell. Once the moon took its place, the Guardian halted. "How much more of this? You have one last task. Approach the door." "How long has that been there?" "Do not worry about that. Enter." Destrophere opens the wooden door and enters a room where light cannot thrive. The door is slammed shut by the Guardian. "Hey, what are you doing?" Destrophere helplessly yelled. As soon as he blinked, he was transported into a dark realm of floating ruins. Gravity seemed to exist and not exist at all, with a ruinous path leading somewhere unknown. Destrophere stood up and walked the path, unable to deviate from it. "Continue on the path," the Guardian's voice echoed. Destrophere walked the path for what seemed like hours and minutes at the same time, with nothing but castle ruins in a void. We had finally reached a sword sheathed in an altar. He approached, and the voice returned. "There is still hope. Justifier raised the sword from rest. Suddenly, power resonated throughout his body, amplifying his attributes. He had awoken on the castle gates, seemingly wounded. Was it a dream? He thought. No, I feel different. He had become far bigger and stronger than before. With his newfound power, he entered the throne room. What? The Dark Mage yelled. How do you live? Justifier raised his hand to his side. A sword manifested in it, one made of pure light and magic. He dashed toward the mage and slashed once. Darkness exploded out of him and scattered away through the floors and back through the earth. He approached some knocked-out guards at the side of the room. Their faces were unclouded and pure. There is still hope, he believed. I am that hope.